Can you hear me? Kazan, can you hear me? Sorry, I tried to see him. Kazan, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, can you talk? Okay. So I will speak a little bit English and a little bit Chinese as well, Kazan. 谢谢大家的邀请，然后谢谢主办人员跟协办人员的这些安排。那因为其实我们Amyris 在之前也是办过一模一样的workshop， 主要是讲 AI 跟 software 方面。那因为这次的 COVID-19， 我们就增加了 emergency use 这个议题，因为在过去几个月，我们从一开始2月送案，然后到5月、6月送案的时候，美国 FDA 有很大的不一样的做法，所以我们想跟大家分享一下，就是在我们送案的过程中 ，FDA 的policy 的改变在哪些方面？那我会先介绍一下 Kazan， 然后我就 switch 到英文。So Kazan, I'm about to introduce you. Dasan Kazanpour. He is the CEO and the president of Amyris Clinical Research, and we are a full service CRO in US. The headquarters is based in USA. Kazan, he has been working for Amyris almost 20 years. He's a founder. Before he found Amyris, he was working for Otsuka, so it's a Japanese company, but Kazan was the head of the biostatistician in US office. Before Otsuka, he was working for FDA. He was an FDA reviewer as well, and he was involved in a lot of HIV drug approval process at that time. He is trained as a statistician. He got his PhD and master from University of Colorado. So now today he is going to talk about the regulatory thinking on AI and machine learning as a software as medical device. Now let's welcome Kazan Kazanpour. Kazan.
Okay. Good morning, everybody, and thank you very much. I heard you say that I used to teach. Yes, I do still teach in George Washington University, teach biostatistics and epidemiology. And also I'm a board member for the regulatory courses that they are offering. Good morning. The topic that we are going to talk today is the current regulatory thinking on artificial intelligence and machine learning for software as medical device. I would like to emphasize that this is from a regulatory point of view and what are the current thinking on the approval process and who will be responsible for it. The outline, this is the outline of the topics that we're going to cover. There are about 9 different topics starting from just general background of the topic of AI and machine learning from regulatory point of view. And then kind of telling you where all the started this concept. Because usually people think that it's starting last several years because now we are thinking more and more about machine learning and artificial intelligence. But from a regulatory point of view, it goes way back. This is almost clear now. And then the question is why? US FDA is really focusing on digital health. Why? We'll talk about it and in more detail we'll discuss that. And also we'd like to know how many products have been approved, and for new ones, there are a lot of them are almost every day, some new product being cleared and or approved. And other topics that we're going to cover is the key concept from a regulatory point of view. We discussed that one. For digital, chemical, biological, it doesn't matter. Anything related to health, from a regulatory point of view, the safety is the first, as you all know. Therefore, when it comes to the digital health, the same thing. One has to focus on the category of risk. What are the risks and what are the benefits? And this play a major role when we are discussing that, when we are going to think about the submission or think about the process of approval. That's part of the whole process, really. And then I will focus on some of the innovations and the actions that the Commissioner of FDA has really pushed CDRH, the center of the FDA that is focusing on the software as medical device, to take some actions. Those actions include, but they are not limited, to the program on the pre-certified pilot program. This is one of those actions that this center is taking. And also the framework of modification for AI and machine learning. Again, I'm referring to this discussion. It is a discussion paper, really. It's not guidelines yet. But in this discussion paper, and the agency, the FDA, is asking for feedback. Because the thinking is that we need to get as much as we can from the industry, because we, the FDAers, do not have as much knowledge, and it is something evolving. Okay, let's go on the background. As it is typical, let me start by defining the title of our talk, the artificial intelligence. And I would like to separate the words and start with the most controversial part of it, the intelligence. What is intelligence? Because we are talking about artificial intelligence, and that relates to computer programming. I borrowed the definition from Stanford Computer Science Department. It says that intelligence is computational part of being able to achieve goals. The thinking, the controversial, the computational parts of it. Then what is AI? What is artificial intelligence? Some may think it is only the program, but really it is both. The science and engineering of making machines that we will refer to them as intelligence machines. And these machines do not need to limit themselves to biological and or physical limitations. And how about the AI and machine learning as a whole? In the AI and machine learning as a whole, really, data is the king. These are techniques used to design and train software algorithms to learn from the obtained data, and based on the data obtained, modifying the output based on the input that they receive. Let's elaborate a little bit more on the artificial intelligence. Although we call it artificial intelligence, but there are different names for it out there. Computer-aided detection, one name for it. Statistical learning algorithm, one may call that one. Deep learning, smart algorithm. These are the terminology that use for the same thing is for machine learning. The machine learning is evolving big time lately. Really is evolving, because the speed in computers is getting faster, and we are better able to really use computers and collect data much more than we used to. There is another component of this machine learning and artificial intelligence that so far, from a regulatory point of view, from an FDA point of view, it is a little bit questioned, and I will talk about it in more detail. And that is adaptive algorithm. It's another part of the artificial intelligence and machine learning. All points to software that over time, based on some inputs, the output may not be the same as it was like 6 months ago or a year ago. Because during this process, because it receives some outputs, it may change, to receive some inputs, the data may change the output, as it has learned from the input collected in last certain period of time. Okay. Let's start by saying that regulatory-wise, because we are talking among ourselves here, the focus is regulatory and how this one started. Regulatory-wise, where all this started. You may not believe it, that really the concept of software started as early as 1997, more than 20 years ago. The guidelines, the first guidelines, the title was General Principles of Software Validation. And that was issued in June 1997. And typical for FDA guidelines, when they come out, it comes out for comments, and it takes several years till receive the comment and finalizing it. That was finalized in 2002. So really, really long time with respect to the software and AIs and all that thing. And we are seeing a lot more and more guidelines coming out, especially and very, very clearly, and now they are calling it software as medical device. So we are looking at it as medical device. But the main one among so many guidelines or document that has come out, software as medical device, is the new guideline that is based on one of that was recommended by IMDRF. And that one came out in 2011. What is IMDRF? The IMDRF is International Medical Device Regulators Forum. So as it comes from the name, the title of it, several regulators, medical device regulators, got together from different countries and tried to come up with some regulations for using software as medical device. Well, I'm sure you all are familiar with ICH guidelines. This IMDRF is similar to that of ICH, International Conference on Organization, and should think that IMDRF is very, very similar to that. The ICH started years back in 90s with 3 countries or 3 regions in those days. I'm talking about 90s. The regions were basically US, EU, and Japan. So these 3 countries, actually, even if you look at the ICH guidelines, the ICH 1, 2, 3, and 4, the thinking was first was in US, and the second being somewhere in Europe, and then the third being Japan, and the fourth just combining them and finalizing them. The IMDRF forum was initiated the same mentality. And the same thing that ICH was for the drug and biologics, IMDRF was for devices. And also, the main purpose was to accelerate international medical device regulatory or harmonizing or convergence. The US FDA, that's the part that I want to emphasize, although it did not initiate, the ICH really initiated by US FDA. I do remember I was in FDA at the time, and Dr. Carl Peck was head of CDER, and was saying that why is it that pharmaceutical company have to modify the document when they submit to different country? Can we have some sort of harmonizing the one document be submitted to all regulators? But the software for software as medical device, this one really was not initiated by FDA. It was initiated by IMDRF, the International Medical Device Regulatory Forum, and then FDA accepted that. As I said, for the ICH, it was only 3 regions or 3 countries. But for this one, many countries were involved in this. As you can see, the names are starting from Australia, Canada, Europe, and United States. Okay, let me focus on one thing, and why is it that U.S. Food and Drug Administration is focusing on digital health? It's a fact that they have to. Why is it that they have to? Just look at all the digital health software and devices around you. I'm sure you are wearing some of those devices, or you know people are using them, and you have seen them. So really, they have to. And CDRH, which stands for, as you know, that FDA has 3 parts, the CDER, CBER and CDRH. CDER is Center for Drug Evaluation and Research. CBER is Center for Biologic Evaluation and Research. And CDRH is Center for Device and Radiological Health, CDRH. And the mission of it, with respect to digital health, is that to helping to address all the public needs for these softwares from medical health point of view, and providing some safe and effective, in US we use the word effective, in Europe they use performance, effective and highly qualified devices, the quality devices that can be used. And also this center, CDRH, was missioned to enabling more efficient clinical practice and diagnosis decision-making through decision support of software and technology. Also trying to empowering individual users to make better decisions daily about their own health by collecting data about themselves. Again, I said FDA has to pay attention. As you can see from these pictures from the left, where the life starts, tell the way on the right that goes predicting where someone dies in the hospital, or all the everything in between. Really, you cannot identify an area that this software as medical device really are not there. You can look at it from the clinician's point of view. It is extremely important. They are using it in one way or another to expedite access to accurate image and the interpretation of it, and use more pattern recognition. So the clinicians are using it more and more. How about patients? Patients, again, yes, they are using it as well. It helps patients to process their own data. That really is moving toward personalized medicine. And then the health system as a whole, they are using it by improving the efficiency and reducing the potential human errors. Talking about why digital health FDA is focusing on that one, as we discussed that in the past wasn't like this, but more and more become like this, that more medical devices have the ability to connect and communicate with other devices. That is really, we are no other choice to start using them. It's not that in old days you knew that data obtaining from SPSS could not be run with SAS or with other software that were available, Fortran in those days, or basic language and all those things. But then the new types of devices that are already in the market, and this capability being really explored and more are being used. While we're preparing for this talk, we'll look, and there are more than 327,000 health-related apps that are available and have been downloaded. This fairly large number have been downloaded. And all these apps really covering more than 240 conditions. The topics, as I said, yes, as you can see why they have to focus on that one. But what are the topics that they are focusing on? From all these different apps that they are, the topics that they are referring to, let's look at the telehealth or telemedicine, especially telemedicine now with the COVID era. Really, most doctors are using it. I know it started being used, but more and more are being relevant with respect to COVID. And the health information technology, again, that's another aspect of it. You doing personalized medicine, that's another part of it. Personalized medicine, as you can see, most of the dosage that we have, most of them, I'm not saying every single one of them, but are ending with 5 or 0, 30 milligrams, 25 milligrams, 80 milligrams, 85 milligrams. They are average, they are not personal. Why not 81.5 milligrams? Because we are using average, and that is it's not personalized medicine. But if we can use these devices, we may be able more and more take advantage of these personal medicines and wearables and mobile health. And there are other advantages that are used, and the benefit and risk. The benefits are really quite a lot, from reducing the inefficiency, improving access, and so on. Okay, one question may come: how many products have been approved, and how? With respect to how many products have been approved in last, basically we start from 2015, although the whole system started from long time ago. But going through the process and submission, the total is more than 160 combination of artificial intelligence and machine learning. From that, about 50% of them are artificial intelligence. As you can see, for 2020, really the year is not over, but already you can see how many they are there. They are almost as many as they were in 2018. The examples are plenty. I don't go over them because you already have seen them, from the diabetes to ultrasounds to even helping ADHD. Actually, we were involved, Amprice was involved in a device, ADHD, for helping ADHD children to learn to focus better. So it's quite a lot. But let's focus on when companies talk to us with respect to key regulatory concept, we always tell them about the safety, as I mentioned earlier. Safety and risk and benefit of it, that's the focus. Really, there is no one answer, to be honest, there is no one answer for all questions like that. But I can say that paying attention to two things: the risk and benefit, the same thing as risk for the drug and biologic that we call it safety and efficacy. And also the potential risk mitigation through general or spatial controls. These are the focus, and that we need to, whenever it relates to the regulatory concept aspects of it. With respect to those of you who are very familiar with the FDA, you know that at CDRH, there are, when it comes to the devices and the approval, it's 510K, De Novo, and PMA. The 510K is usually the easiest one because you can find a predicate that you can compare it with, and then De Novo, it is the same thing but no predicate, so you have to work harder. But the PMA is that basically need a clinical trial for that one. But let's focus on the bottom line, as I said earlier, is the risk and benefit concept when it comes to talk about this. And the main importance of IMDRF was that they came up with risk categories, and the importance of that is the one that FDA accepted them. These risk benefit categories is that what is the significance of the output of software as medical device. So we are giving some input to the device, we get some output. What is the significance of that output from the healthcare decision-making point of view? The other one is, what is the condition that output or that software as medical device is intended to be used? Here you can see, this is with respect to the significance of information or the output that we get. As it goes from the top to bottom, it increases the significance of it. If it is only used for clinical management, just informing, this is not as if it is the device is going to be used for clinical management of the drug that the person is using, or even more, treating and or diagnosing. The more you come down, the more become significance. This is one part of it. Then the other part is the health condition, the situation that is being used. You can use it for non-serious conditions or for serious condition, or for critical condition, like being in ICU and all that thing. So again, that is the order that is showing that the condition that the device is going to be used these are the risk categories. Then you can combine this risk with the condition and the result of the output. This gonna come out together and give you why that is important. And these are the risk categories that really the IMDRF put together and FDA is using. And most of the decision is really focusing on these categories, risk and benefit, as we mentioned. And to start with respect to AI and machine learning, the focus is on the low risk one. One more component that is, again, for those of you who are very familiar with the drug and biologics, is that the IDMC, the Independent Data Monitoring Committee, that is quite often is used when we are dealing with some drug or biologics. Similar concept is evolved, but here they call it independent review. For those that are developing software, really our recommendation is use an independent review to help you while you are developing your software as medical device. It is really, really strongly recommended. And as you can see again, it is borrowed from the drug and biologics. Now let me tell you about the digital health innovation from FDA point of view and the action plan. As I said, the CDRH was specifically asked by the FDA commissioner to have the medical software provisions on the 21st century cures legislation. Probably you remember that applies to so many of them, but they wanted to have in CDRH one of them related to digital health. And also, this division was asked to do some pilot pre-certification program. And I will talk about why pilot pre-certification program. Because this is not the way that the drug and biologics are working. Now this is focused on the software as medical device. And also it was commissioned to develop a new approach for digital health technology oversight, which basically that pre-certified for software. Also to build, and that's another part that they don't have at the moment, but they are building the expertise in the CDRH with respect to digital health. The program for pre-certified pilot program was very, very unique approach from FDA point of view. Because really, neither for the drug nor for biologics, you cannot have anything to be outsourced outside of FDA. With respect to this program, the hope is to have a regulatory model that is more efficient and it has less regulations and more of just an oversight. Those of you who have been in regulatory, you know, it is really, if this is going to be applicable, it's going to be for very, very low risk devices, cannot be for mid or high risk devices. Anyway, the purpose is to reduce the pre-market review timeline. That is one area that obviously it is being reduced overall, but they want to almost make it to zero with this pilot program. Again, which is this pilot program really is the first step to see how the pre-certified program can work. May work, may not, but they are looking at see how they can do it. So they started by, in order to certify, they started by a limited company, obviously hundreds of companies applied, and for this program only 9 of them were selected to participate. And these are the 9, some big companies, some small company, and even you can see Roche, a pharmaceutical company, is in that as well. And Johnson & Johnson is another one. The main purpose of it is that if there is, in this graph you can see that if there is FDA pre-certified. The top one is FDA pre-certified. The bottom one is go through the FDA review and all that thing. That if it is FDA pre-certified, really it can bypass some of the early time for the review. And the hope is, remember I'm saying the hope, because really, if that's gonna work, really it has to be a lot of interaction between the industry and the regulators. And I will say later on, I will show that really regulators are pushing to have that interaction. The hope is to establish some criteria to have more companies to be pre-certified. And these pre-certified companies potentially could market their product a lot faster, or to take less time from FDA review for their product. And also with respect to the data, get some data from the pre-market submission to FDA, and also get more data from post-market approval. Now you see why I'm saying the hope is. And the assessment to be more of post-market data for the safety and effectiveness. That's what the thinking is. Again, I say that FDA is focusing on to have more interaction with the industry. The regulatory framework, this is not a guideline, really. It's a framework for modification of artificial intelligence and machine learning. This is they refer to it as discussion paper. And by the way, sorry that this is a very busy slide, but the main point in this slide is that for US FDA in general and CDRH, Center for responsible for this in particular, to design for adaptive artificial intelligence and machine learning technologies. And today, just for your information, although we call it artificial intelligence machine learning, that means that it can learn from its data. The FDA has cleared or approved all the devices, AI and ML, that are approved, or almost all of them are using locked algorithms. That means that they are not learning and changing the output. I'm talking about those that are clear and approved, and especially for the low risk, they may have some, but really they lock the algorithm. Because the CDRH is designed to see an anticipated output for known given input. If it learns that at the beginning, let's say when the data goes to FDA, because it has not learned a particular technique, so as time goes on, it learned from the input. The output that will come is not the same as output that was before, because it has learned. But the power of artificial intelligence and machine learning is based on the fact that, or the ability that continuously learning and adapting and changing after the distribution. That characteristic is not going to be used yet. That is basically given an input results in different output at some later time. And the thinking probably is that different output may be better output, not necessarily. Based on the data that we have, that there are times that the later outputs really are not good as the one that were before. And if and when algorithm changes, then it basically the way it is that when algorithm changes, it requires to go back to FDA, pre-market review and notification for changing beyond the original changes, similar to that of in the package insert for the drug and devices. And the document that came out, this is the one I'm sure most of you have seen, because it came out a while back. And the approach is very, very unique, as I mentioned earlier, and it is very, very innovative regulatory approach for this one. And it may require, by the way, for this one, it may require additional statutory authority that at the moment FDA does not have at the moment. And because I do remember late or very, very early 90s, when for HIV, the drug that we were approving at the time, the clinical endpoint was not available. The discussion was, can we use a laboratory marker endpoint. At the time was CD4 cell counts and viral load. And that was a no-no. These are not clinical endpoints, they are laboratory markers. We cannot approve things based on laboratory markers. So they have to go back and get permission and all that things that they call these surrogate endpoints, a replacement for the clinical endpoint. Similar thing may happen in here, I don't know. This discussion paper was published in April 2019 and still is accepting comments. It was supposed to collect all the comments by June, but still, and there have been a lot of FDA sponsored workshop on this one. Another component of the discussion paper is the concept that is very nice, really. Again, it borrowed it from the drug and devices, drug and biologics, and that's quality system. And you know that for the drug we have GCP, good clinical practice, GMP, GLP, and so on. But now they came up with another terminology, GMLP, good machine learning practice. Again, by having that will help facilitate quality development and assessment of machine learning and artificial intelligence. And it will be based on good data management, good training, and evaluation. I'm going to summarize what I told you so far. I know I took a bit longer than what I anticipated, but basically wanted to let you know that yes, regulatory-wise, the whole concept for software started back in 1997, and similar to that of ICH, but IMDF, the IMDRF is the one that's really using to put together the system for the software. And FDA is focusing mostly on digital health as a digital health product has been around, and FDA would like to revise the regulatory pathway as much as possible to help the software as medical device. And these are based on all the innovations that they are coming up with. The pathway, like the one that we are doing right now, is locked algorithm. That one may go away, but if it goes away, they have to have some process. The risk categories, we discussed that is really, really important, and that's the main piece, and we may pay attention for those who are going to submit something for the FDA approval. And for high risk category, having an independent review board, it plays a major role for software as medical device. The same that is true for the independent data safety monitoring. And there are some, this paper that FDA put together for regulatory framework that helps to have interaction between the industry and FDA. FDA asking as much as they can feedback from the industry, while FDA is modifying the traditional regulatory pathway. We have not been there, we are not there yet, but it's modified. And it continues to refine the policies for current technology. And really engaging with CDRH, it is going to be very helpful for the industry and regulators, because regulators want to approve it as long as it is safe and efficacious. Thank you very much. And that's my talk for now.
Thank you, Cousin.
Sorry, I went over time with it.
No, it's okay, because I know he always run over time, so I will reduce my time. So Cousin, you can mute yourself, you can tell the rest. I know it's late over there. I'm going to initiate my talk about software as a medical device.
Okay, thank you. I will listen. I turn the